If you've been feeling like your power is dulled, your light dimmed, or your mission forgotten, today's guest is here to call it out and call you back to it. Today's guest doesn't play around with watered down wisdom. Vinaya is a spiritual mentor and intuitive guide, and the force behind karmic awareness catalyst. He's known for helping gifted, intuitive people break free from the old programming, remember who they are, and actually live the mission they came here for. His message: stop playing small, stop waiting. You were born for this. If you've been doubting your gifts or hiding your voice, this episode might just wake something up inside you. Vinaya, welcome to Attention is the Currency, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Yay.
Yeah, it's going to be a great episode. I just know it. And let's start off with, you help people wake up their soul mission. What does that actually mean in practice?
In practice, we all know why we're here. Unfortunately, when we come, we forget about it. But we still know when we are young how we actually are and what our mission is, even though not necessarily conscious and aware. But then we get programming. You have to be a German, you have to be Australian, you have to be this, you have to be that, you have to do it this way or that way. And that is a very deep programming. And becoming free of that brings me into the present and into my own journey. Because one thing we want to understand, and it's also very logical, nothing in existence is a carbon copy. We are all unique. We all have our ways and pathways and gifts and journey. And remembering that suddenly changes my whole life, because now I'm actually there where I want to be.
Well, what was your personal turning point? Because when you stopped holding back and actually stepped into this role, because you sense that you were sort of guided in that direction, but there would have been a turning point.
I had two turning points, basically. The first one was when I was around 21. And after really trying really hard, honestly, to be a good German and really figuring out, no, that doesn't work for me. This is not it. I just set off on a journey to India overland in search of something. And so many years passed by, and journey went also inside because I couldn't find anything outside. And the turning point was really when I became aware that me living myself, my journey, my uniqueness is an example for other people, and I can help them remembering why they're really here and then enjoying life to the fullest. And it was about 30 years ago. And with the help of my knowledge and passion for crystals, it suddenly just downloaded on me, don't use cards, don't use tarot cards, which I was doing because I was already trying to help people. Use crystals. And wow, it worked like a charm.
Yeah.
So it's always amazing. I don't remember, but it was about 30 years ago.
Yeah, well, it's always amazing your space that people do. Everyone's got their own method, and they're something that's been gifted to them, really, of how they're going to open it up. What do you see? Because you're helping people to get stuck in their path. What do you see as the most common thing that why they come to you, and what keeps them stuck?
Two things. Often, trauma comes up. And the need to release that physically, emotionally, and out of the nervous system, because it's stuck in our body, in our nervous system. That is these days a very common thread where people want to work on first what they really feel inside, because they run by these flight and fight and freeze moments of trauma. And the second one would be self-worth. I'm not good enough. I need to be better. I need to grow up. I need to become enlightened, or whatever the goal is, and helping people to understand that, wait a minute, again, existence, God, or whatever you want to call it, does not create anything imperfect. Obviously, you're not the only one in existence who's imperfect. So forget about that. Step into yourself and remember and understand also that the judgment that you're not good enough does not come from you. It comes from mom or cops or the priest or whatever. Yeah. So, yeah, remember that as well. So that is, these two things are really prevalent at this time. And that is the most fantastic part for me. It's like when I started, the energetics of the people who came was really like very much basic work still to be done. The last 10, 15 years, it's more and more people coming who are already stepping onto the path and already being curious, like, who am I really? What am I doing here? And having a certain level of awareness already. And that's amazing to see.
So really, they're seeking you from the energy that you're putting out, as well. It's a
Yes, but like, really, like when I started, it was really, maybe my energy was also different. Yeah, well, obviously, because it's 30 years ago. But
yeah.
yeah.
It's a long time to build it up because
Yes. And but what I want to say is that I can sense that the vibration in general of the planet or of humanity is raising. There's more and more people becoming more and more aware, and that's just wonderful.
And when somebody says they feel blocked, what does that usually underneath that?
Most of the time, trauma, because that really blocks us from being present. And see, when we have a trauma, and we all have trauma, more or less, some really much and some not so much, but it's still, usually it happens when we are young, and then we can't really fight or flee, so we freeze, and that energy stays. So, for example, my partner had a trauma when she was younger with a home invasion. So now every little noise got her freaked out until she was able to release that. That's gone now. But we are stuck. We are blocked. We can't, even if we would be aware that, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong here, we can't get out of this freeze state. And for that, there's quite a few therapies and exercises one can do or being helped with is to release that out of the nervous system so the cycle can be completed. That, in my experience, is the main stuckness.
What makes me think of before the episode we were chatting, and it was all about talking about being present in this moment. Because the trauma is something that, although it's still affecting us, but it has already passed. We're no longer in that mode anymore.
No, but we are physically and in the nervous system because the energy stays stuck. And so when I know that I'm blocked through that, I do trauma release exercises or physical, like somatic exercises to release that. And then the block is gone because the block is that freeze state. And that's about 90% of the people. The 10% I come across is like, they're just stubborn. No, I don't want to change.
Yeah, they definitely. Well, they like being in that identity, and they're not opening it out. But as we see so many gifted, intuitive people, they self-sabotage or stay silent. Is that what do you find that?
Rephrase that question.
Well, there is. Well, why do so many gifted, intuitive people self-sabotage or stay silent? Is the
Oh, yeah. There, I can tell out of my experience it was like my mind going like, who the heck do you think you are? It's
Yeah.
like, so there was like this ego trap and this fear of like having this humongous ego. And so that was my experience where I had to suddenly just then realize, no, that has nothing to do with my ego. It is just the way who I am. And that's just my gift. And there's nothing really special about it, even though it seems like it, but it's not. It's just who I am. And so many people have that fear of like, oh, who am I? Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I can definitely relate, and because I can understand from my point of view, because I've been doing marketing for a long time, and my clients would say, "Oh, he's my mentor," and so on. I go, "No, no, I'm just your consultant. I'm just your consultant." But in fact, I'm giving them such valuable advice, uh, and uh, and you've just got to step into that role. But then other people will step out there. But I think everyone's feeling the same thing, whether they're whatever role they're doing, because well, a title is just a title that's been assigned, as you were talking about before. Whether if you're a doctor or something like that, they're still just assigned titles, and
Yeah.
that just becomes your identity. But if
Yes.
you,
And what sometimes plays a role into not doing that is the fear of not succeeding or being wrong. And yeah, it's just a mental story because the mind cannot explain how I have really no idea how I connect with it, how that works. I just do something and then I connect with the people. I'm connected and they talk through me. How that works, my mind has no idea. And sometimes my mind goes while I'm giving a reading and things come through. My mind in the background goes like, "What the heck are you talking about?" Like, "Oh, you can't say that."
yeah,
But I do, and I'm not listening. So one has to learn not to listen to this mind because the mind really has no clue about these things.
yeah. Well, we're very much tapped into that all that universal knowledge, but some it just there's people that are more open to it than others and have a different purpose to unlock this. And let's talk about your process and so on. How do you help someone actually remember who they are? Where do you start?
I don't.
You don't?
What I do is when I give a reading,
Yeah.
I energetically connect with that person. And then that person, that higher self or that unconscious, I actually really don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Something just comes. I step aside and something comes through. And it's always spot on. I can see that in the response and the reaction of the people when it touches them, it resonates, and it is correct because they remember. So it's an automatic process where I just talk. Like the client then, once I connect, takes a crystal or selects a crystal, gives it to me in person or virtually, tells me what number the crystal has. I take it in my hand and I just start to talk. And it always comes out what is the most important step or most beneficial step for you now to step into your role. Sometimes there are just steps to be taken before they can even hear what their role is. Sometimes it's very clear, boom, that's what you're here for, boom. And I always see like, yeah, right. Ha.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that's how it basically works. I have no clue how, but it does work. I know that for
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah. Well, it must be really interesting though to see that because well, I guess it's that separation because what's your the perspective of downloads and intuition in a truth? How can people tell that if somebody was intuitive like you, how can they tell the difference between the two? Uh,
Oh, very simple. At least in my experience or in my life, the very, very first thing which comes, that's my intuition. That's my knowing, the real know. a split second later, right? Really quickly, it's almost indistinguishable.
Yeah.
Comes to mind and argues about it, right? So
Yeah.
one wants to learn to really listen to this very, very first thing. It's very quick and like, and it's always right. And the mind is always wrong. That's my experience for 50 years following my intuition and my heart. It was always right. Followed. I was always in the right place. It was always just wow. And when I did not listen, I had an accident, broke my shoulder, or my key was gone and I was stuck with my motorbike. I knew exactly, immediately not to do what I was doing. But my mind had a good argument and I wasn't listening.
So you really
So
got to get it going before that little voice starts talking.
Right.
Which is our, I guess, you from before you would say that that was our identity and the things that aren't actually in line.
Right.
Not the alignment. So
yeah, it's all against the alignment because it's dangerous for the ego to really step into one's attention, awareness, power.
well, what would you say to someone that they feel like they're made for something bigger, but they feel like they've missed their moment? Because a lot of people, they say that they're too old, or I talked to a lot so far that they either say they're too old, or they're too far in debt, or all these other societary things, and they feel like they've missed their big moment for what their life purpose is.
They might have missed the moment where it was most easy to step into that role. And now they know, wait a minute, I should do that. Perfect moment. Maybe it's a little bit harder. Maybe one has only 5 or 10 years of joy of doing what one really wanted to do and stepping into one's greatness and amazingness. And, in my book, better to have 10 minutes of absolute fulfillment and joy than never. And so it's never really too late.
Yeah.
Again, yes, I might have missed the moment where it was most easy, but maybe I just needed to learn it the hard way or was a bit stuck.
Well, I always try to say, well, what else would I be doing with my time? And than this, and it's spending your attention wisely, because there's a lot of other things just to waste attention on and delaying that.
Yeah, and sometimes it's needed. So like I'm really trying hard not to do this because I think something else is important, or I think this is not important. And then I really find out, well, that was wrong.
Yeah.
But now I'm ready.
I know you were talking about the crystals before that you use, but what practices or tools do you personally use sort of to stay aligned as well?
The only practices I have is as often as I remember, I just be aware of my breath, how it goes in and out. I'm instantly in the present, in the moment, instantly aware of everything, but I'm not identified. I'm not in the story. I'm just present. As well as a few times a day, just sitting outside, looking at nature and being grateful to be able to be alive, to be able to have a body and experience all these amazing adventures. Even if it's a broken leg, it's an experience. And these two things are my main thing, where I really, as often as possible, just drop in. And when you do that and practice it and remember very often, then there comes a point where you actually are more or less always in that space. And it's actually the rarity that you suddenly get annoyed and got lost in the story and have a problem. But then immediately or very fast, the awareness comes, wait a minute, I'm in the story.
Yeah.
I'm back to presence.
So being present and clarity and gratitude is really what someone today to begin shifting into that clarity and spiritual momentum. Is that the
Yeah, it's really also in that moment when I'm really present, when my attention, my awareness is here, I'm in paradise. Nothing is wrong.
yeah
There's no need to say anything. There's everything is absolutely perfect.
yeah
And I can do that every moment. So like, yes, attention slash awareness is a currency for bliss and contentment and a wonderful life.
definitely was
Yes.
because well I know that people are stressing about things that are weeks away or months away or always there. They're not present in their lives. It's very common these days because we're dragged away from all different things, made to worry about the economy. The
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. And it's challenging. And planet Earth, nobody said life is easy in a certain way. It's apparently a school. So we
yeah,
need to learn to just always step back and be present. And when we start to get out of the programming, then all of these things actually fall away because they're not important anymore. And then suddenly just joy and contentment arises. I'm still getting angry, mind you, but
yeah,
wait a minute.
yeah,
Annoyed, not really angry, but annoyed at people and things and happening. And then, oops,
yeah,
I'm in the story. I'm not present because there's no point in being annoyed about anything. It's just perfect.
yeah.
I might not see it in the sense of like, why would we not really live in a paradise? And not understandable for me, but then okay, we all need to have different experiences. We all need to, well, we don't need to, but we chose to learn and become more aware. And
Definitely. Well, I know that I've held on to sort of anger before, and then I've gone to come on. This is just silly. Just let it. It's never going to be fair. It's always going to be how it is, and so you've just got to just letting those things go. Because we're holding ourselves back on putting
yeah,
our attention into those things. Uh, how does karma play a role in your work? Because it is in the name.
karma, I have a really big challenge with that. Um, I understand what it's supposed to mean that, like, okay, in my past lives, I did some bad things or didn't become more aware. So in this life, I have to say in the past life, I murdered somebody. So in this life, I get murdered. So
Yeah,
they kind of like work on these negative things, so to speak, which we apparently did. And I'd rather see it in a way of the level of awareness I'm having in this life when I die. It's a level of awareness I come back with, kind of like a remembrance, or like I made this dungeon. Now next life I'm in the next dungeon, and so on
yeah,
and so on, until I do the exam, and maybe it goes on forever. I don't know.
yeah.
But so karma for me is basically becoming more and more aware. That's why we are here. And it has nothing to do with, in my book, with something negative or positive. Because also, briefly, a master once said that if I really had thousands of life and accumulated bad karma, okay, this life I'm more aware and I negate some karma, but I will obviously do some more negative karma. And so it will never end. So you cannot become enlightened. But we've seen people who became enlightened, became self-aware. So something is not right there. So I'd rather go with a level of awareness, the steps we take. And my job, not my job, but my pleasure is to remind people of their divinity, of their wellness, of their awareness level they have.
Definitely. Well, tell us about your work. What does it look like to work with you? in your program? Do you is it sort of bookings? Is it groups, or is it?
No, it's all individual because it can't be done really okay, I do meditation retreats where we do group work and meditate together, like active meditations. And but basically it's all individual. A crystal reading would be one-time situation between half an hour and an hour. The coaching is at least 4 weeks, where we meet 2 times a week, whereas the first day would be a reading mainly to see where we are at and what's the next step. There's a meditation or awareness exercise or this or that, where the person then works on it, and then we get back together a few days later, 3 or 4 days later, depends, and feedback and check in. And then the next week, the next cycle starts. So that we basically, what's it called? Fast track.
Yes.
Fast track the stepping into one's power and becoming more aware of themselves.
Well, that's definitely the reason why we approach someone with experience for the fast track.
Right.
Yeah, I always like the saying, when you read a book, it's a decade and a day. So you're getting that information all downloaded out from somebody's life instead of having to spend that 10 years learning it.
Yes. And there is a difference between knowing it from a book and having it actually experienced.
Yes.
And that I help people to step into the experience of a certain meditation. Do it, and then you know if it's right for you, and then you also experience the amazingness or the presence you have, because these exercises are all designed for that, nothing else. Becoming more present, attention.
And how can people jump on website, social media account?
Various ways, but if you want to get coaching with me, there's on my website sessions. You can either book a crystal reading, get a taste of me, or you know already and you want to do coaching, then there's an intake call. We talk together and see if we actually are a match and if we can work together. And yeah, going from there. So my website would be the most easiest way.
Perfect. And we'll make sure it's in the caption. So it's.
I will. I think I'll send it to you. But anyway, yeah, I have a what you call it Instagram channel where I also offer like little exercises and insights and
Yes.
yeah, channel.
And I saw you've got a Facebook community as well. So we'll make sure all those links are.
Yeah, a Facebook community. I got a Facebook page which is called Your Path to Freedom.
Yes.
Because and so we all have different paths. So we work together and do events and share. And yeah, that's a little bit in the making at the moment. But for sessions, crystal readings and coaching, go to my website, book a session or an intake call, and we will have fun.
Perfect. Yes. And Vinaya, we've got the final question of the interview, which is our signature question, and this is the one that we all hold out till the end. And I'm sure, yeah, it's being the theme of the show. Attention is the currency. So, if attention is the currency, what do you believe people should stop wasting it on and start investing it in?
Wasting it on social media, nothing wrong with a movie or two, but basically checking out. Put your attention into things which are not really important and not really fulfilling, because you know already it's not really fulfilling. And paying more attention to oneself. What does nourish me? What does give me joy? What excites me? Like focusing more on oneself than on the outside. Again, there's nothing wrong with, like, often I try to find a movie, which is impossible, for me these days because it's either violent or completely stupid in my book. But I'd also like to check out sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. But the main attention, most beneficial, is on myself. Because when I'm not, there's nothing I can do in the world, and nothing is really fulfilling because we know when we just look, yeah, how does it fulfill me, this movie or every day movie or this or that? Not really. I'm honest to myself. Inside the attention, not outside.
That's perfect. Present and attention on oneself. Perfect attention is the currency. So Vinaya, thank you for the call out, the clarity and the activation. To everyone listening, if you've ever felt like you're drifting, hiding, or stuck in a version of yourself that's too small for your spirit, this is your sign. Not to chase something new, but to remember what's already inside you. Go follow Vinaya, connect through his platform, and let this be the moment you stop delaying the mission, because attention is the currency and your power is overdue.
Yes.
We'll see you all in the next episode.
All right. Ciao, everybody.